Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, hey, reliable information, history, ooh, talking about culture, hey, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Ja.
And I am Anthony Sier, and a pleasant welcome to Focus on Liberia. It's Friday, and this is Friday Night Debate. Friday Night Debate is designated for debating national issues. We have a topic. This one is a very significant topic. Every nation wants to make progress. Our nation, Liberia, is not exempted from wanting to make progress. The question is, are we making that progress? If we look at the past 5 years, can we say, as a nation, as a people, and as a government, have we been making progress, or have we been retrogressing in the area of education, in the area of healthcare, the economy, infrastructure, social services? How are we doing? Are we making progress? When we talk about education, you talk about educational facilities and talk about quality education, teacher training. Are we making progress? Let's bring it to the economy, for example. In terms of revenue generation, are we raising money? Are we creating alternative sources of revenue? Even let's talk about, financial management, expenditure, for example. How are we doing? Are we making progress? Hey, this topic here is big. This topic is intended for us to debate and assess how have we been doing in the past 5 years as a nation. Have we been making progress, or have we been retrogressing? Well, the man Jimmy Eastman is just joining us here. Jimmy, welcome. This is Friday Night Debate. You are joining us from the nation's capital, of course. How are you? How you doing?
I'm good. Good. I like the topic. I'm ready to dig right on in.
All right. And let us also welcome Alice Wilson Mumba, who is set and really comfortably seated for the debate to tell us whether or not we are making progress or we have been retrogressing. Mrs. Mumba, welcome. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great. It's a pleasure being here.
All right, you look a little more upbeat there for the topic. Yeah, I can see it. All right, that is good. His name is Comrade Mohammed Sharif. That is how I call him. From all the way Calibo, we came from the Waplo Institute. When you hear Waplo, you hear the name Mohammed Sharif. Comrade, it's good to see you. Welcome to Friday Night Debate. I'm sure you are ready.
Yeah, Anthony, how are you? I'm glad to be here.
All right, I'm doing great. You can see me. I'm fired up, and I'm also excited about the topic. We need to debate this topic, assess the whole thing, and see how we're doing, because the folks in government are telling us, hey, we're doing this, we're doing this. So we are here to assess all of that. And so, folks in cyberspace, if you are just joining us, we want to welcome you to Friday Night Debate here at Focus on Liberia, where we debate the issues. Let's get started. Comrade Jimmy,
Yeah.
looking at the past 5 years, give me your general assessment. Will you say we have been making a little progress? Are we stagnant, or are we retrogressing? Give me your preview of this topic. What do you think?
Well, to make a proper assessment, Anthony, we have to categorize it. There are different issues to consider. We can look at GDP, its growth. We can look at the decline in poverty. We can look at the educational rate. Has that expanded? So we have to look at it in categories if we're going to do a proper assessment. Exactly. Now, even though Liberia's GDP is projected to grow to 5%, I think over the last 2 years, it was a 4.8 or something like that percentage. So we do see some improvement there. It's driven by what? Mining. We get more mining concessions. Agriculture is trying to book, and services. Okay. But there's still significant challenges. We have public debt is rising. So if you growing your GDP, but your debt is climbing, so your income to debt ratio is getting smaller and thinner, that's going to be lead to a wide fiscal deficit in the end, and it's usually due to increased government spending. So there's some signs of improvement, but at the same time, there's some concerns, especially our debt income to debt ratio. We have to produce more if we're going to drive ourselves out of poverty. So I think what I would focus on in there, if I look at economic factors, I would focus on the amount of businesses that are being opened, the amount of revenue they're attaining from businesses and enterprises. I'm not talking.
And Jimmy will get to the specifics.
Yeah.
I just want you to give me your general
So
assessment.
it's a mix.
It's a mix?
Yeah, it's a mix.
Okay, meaning progress here, stagnant here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get to you, Alice. How do you see it? Looking at the past 5 years, will you say we've been making progress in some areas, progress on the overall, how you see it?
Well, looking at different factors, that we are going to go into tonight, talking about education, talking about healthcare, talking about poverty, and many more that we are going to be discussing tonight. I think Liberia is making steady progress. We cannot boast of that, but because the reason for which we are not boasting of that now is it seems fragile, because there are different factors that are playing into the little progress that we are seeing. You have to have things under control. Like Jimmy rightly said, if you are borrowing more than what you are producing, you cannot boast of progress. But in any case, there are little progress that we are seeing in different areas, and we're going to go into the specifics later.
Thank you. Comrade Sherry, if you look at the past 5 years,
Yes.
What is your opening argument here? Progress or not?
No, we if the past 5 years is our matrix, this economy has been stagnant.
Okay.
Liberia has made very minimal, and it's negligible. That progress is very negligible at best, and the country is struggling in the areas of employment, in the areas of infrastructure, in all these different areas, in areas of education. That school in Riverside, my alma mater in Kalipo, different schools around the country are very, in degrading conditions. And this, total neglect of these areas. And so you cannot talk of progress when you have left a vast number of the Liberian population behind. I mean, it's like there's no governance in the rural areas, Comrade Anthony. It's devastating what's coming out of the rural areas. Lack of clean water, lack of electricity, no internet to speak of. Education has depreciated as degraded so much. So these things are in very deplorable conditions, and so you cannot speak of progress. Again, Jimmy touched on Liberia's debt. This is a country about more than 3 decades ago was 1.5 to 1.6 billion dollars in debt, knee deep in debt. So come the Ellen Johnson administration, fast forward after the Civil War, which devastated the economy, and Ellen Johnson comes to office, and through the goodwill of the international community, the debt is wiped clean. So a clean slate. She is given this clean slate. And, some way, somehow, um, we get right back into debt. It's knee deep in debt. Right now, according to some estimates, we are $2 billion, between 1.6 to $2 billion in debt. And Anthony, what is the country doing now? What are the leaders doing? They are borrowing and borrowing to upkeep themselves. This is not just the presidency, the executive branch. I'm talking about all branches, specifically the legislature and the executive. I mean, we forget the legislators who are making all kinds of money, and they're not assisting the country to get from underneath this debt burden. And finally, I would like to add that you cannot speak of any growth if you're not industrialized. Right now, you have Chinese and foreign businesses going into the rural areas and stealing our resources,
Thank you.
stealing our gold, and what else they're doing? Our kids, children now are running away from school and going to these gold mines instead of staying in school like I did, which is why I'm on here now. Kids running away from classes, going to these gold mines and stuff like that, which are not regulated.
Thank you.
So, in total neglect of the country.
Thank you. And Comrade, we'll get to the specifics here and assess whether we are making progress. If we do, in what areas? If we're not, where are we not making the progress? Let us welcome Mr. Stephen McGill to Friday Night Debate. Comrade, please unmute yourself there. Welcome to Friday Night Debate. We are discussing whether or not Liberia, if you look at the past 5 years, is making progress or retrogressing or stagnant. Tell us your own assessment. If you look at the past 5 years, what will you say?
Oh, well, it is not a full yes or no whether we're doing better. We may be doing better on paper, but in the actual sense, That we're seeing this in the lives of people, especially the poor people, to how to reach people, the unprotected people, the vulnerable people, the people in West Point, in Newcretown. You go to the market every day. I come from a village called Jowa. Jowa is a highway. And since my 50 years of time, I know President Torbo adopted that little village. At this time, I would have thought and think that village would have been the vision of Torbo because he used that village to launch most of his project. And it would have been like a highway in a place like Ganta City. But today, the people in that village, they have road access. The farmers do not even have access to farming road, and it's a major international road. Just from that, as close out to my heart, coming down to other area that I live in Monrovia and across Liberia, going down as far as the gold mines in Grand Jita, in Sino, in Riverside when I work back in Liberia in community development and assessment. Yes, let's look at it and say we are making life feed stock, but a lot of Liberians are feeding their stock. The government need to do more, not just to grow the economy, but to make the growth visible in people's lives. Are we seeing that change in people's lives? Yeah, let's say economic growth, let's say economic justice. Yeah, let's say GDP is rising, but rural communities still lack electricity, clean water, and decent road. Growth must be inclusive of everybody in oil Liberia, regardless of where they come from. Not just for the few people sitting in the capital, where we have always advocated to decentralize and make the food come down to the lowest people. Our economics say we're 5 million. Let's say we are 6 million people in Liberia. Is it possible to have all the 6 million people be accounted for on the basic of their health basic? Every day I post on my Facebook, this person is dead, that person is dead, and the health issues. I mean, it is heartbreaking to just loss and being in grief. And we talk
Thank you.
about mental health and all of that. Let's see what's happening all around with drug proliferation and the neglect of the young people who make us 65% of our economic. Are they job? Are they on job? Do we have a young youth minister in Liberia who could jumpstart other youth? Let's
Thank you,
tap
Mr.
into the
Mikel.
God's store. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And we will get into the specifics. But before we do, I really want to get each of you yardstick that you will be using as you debate to assess whether or not, as a nation, we are making progress in terms of education, in terms of healthcare, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of reforms, youth empowerment, and so on and so forth. I want you to tell me what yardstick will you be using? What measurement will you be using? What will you be looking at to determine whether or not we are making progress? But before we get to that, we have to welcome Comrade St. Salif, who is just joining us. He's a sustainable development coach. Pastor Salif, welcome. How you doing, sir?
Thank you, Mr. C. I'm doing wonderful. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very loud
Okay.
and glad, and I'm glad that you are comfortable there. The first question here is that if you look at Liberia, we want to get your opening statement yet. Are we making progress? And what yardstick will you be using to assess whether or not we are making progress in other areas, whether or not we are stagnant or retrogressing in other areas?
I think that's an interesting question, and I think it would be a good debate tonight. And hello to all my fellow panelists and those in listening land wherever you are. But it's an interesting question. It's a fair and honest question, but I think it's a little bit suggestive whatever answer anybody give, because while progress might mean to one person could mean something else to another person. And today in our world, based on partisan alignment, so based on which side of the aisle you're on, you could decide, oh yeah, we're making progress. If you're on the other side, you might say, oh no, there's nothing happening. So very few people will be very objective. And no matter how objective you are, you might say it objectively, but the other people listening to you, how do they perceive it? So I think it's based on who you ask. And I mean, objectively, I think Liberia is just I wouldn't say we're making progress. I won't say we're not making progress. I think we are just stuck. That's the word I will use. We are stuck right now between moving forward and retrogressing. Because when you look at the country, based on where we just came from in the recent past, the past 6 years, if we evaluate or if we decide to go back even to the Ellen's days or even pre-war Liberia, somebody just asked the question the other time, I don't know where I read it, whether we have made any progress. I mean, whether we achieved the goal for the Civil War. And I think the Civil War was a big and huge setback for the country, and it was senseless. In my own estimation, I believe if we had not fought the Civil War, we would have been way further than where we are today. The Civil War has done nothing. It brought no reform in even terms of human behavior. Liberians are now worse off today than we were. I mean, I went back to Liberia sometime and I'm like, wow, people have become rude. People have become uncivil. Even in government offices, you see the things happening. I never saw those things when I was growing up. So the war did not even help our behavior. The war did not help our honesty. Corruption is on the rise. Everything is just, it's like everything burst into the open. So we did not benefit anything. I mean, I don't know why I can use war and benefit, but some people fight war, some countries fight war, and they help them to progress. Today, Rwanda war was going on at the same simultaneously with the Liberian war. Today, Rwanda has launched what they call not cable car, but they have launched what's the name? And I will find it and share it with you. Where instead of using chopper now around the city, they use their flying car or flying something, that is drone power. Mm-hmm. That's Rwanda. They were fighting war the same time we fought. Look at the Rwanda economy. Look at Rwanda infrastructural development. Rwanda is a serious case study for a country that went from war to progress. Over 800,000 people died in the space of 2 weeks in Rwanda. The devastation that happened in Liberia happened in Rwanda. But you cannot put Rwanda and Liberia on the same scope, because Rwanda is leapfrogging so many other countries in Africa. So it depends on who you ask, whether we're making progress or not. It's to most people, this will be subjective.
Thank you. Debaters, let's get to it. Please shorten your answers here before we get to the meat. The question I'm asking is, what yardstick will you be using as we go to these different sectors for you to tell us whether or not we're making progress in the area or not? If you ask me, my yardstick will be looking at what quality are we putting out? How are we improving human conditions? That's what I'll be looking at. Let's say we're raising 1 billion yearly in terms of revenue. Now, how is that translating into uplifting our people from poverty? How does that get us the quality education we need in the school buildings? But you are the debaters, so I think we should go into it. You will decide your yardstick to use, or depending on what sector we are discussing. So, Jimmy, let's get to it. And I think let's start with the economy, because if you're talking about economy, that is the blood, that is the lifeline, that is the engine of any country, of any economy. People will argue when you need money to run a country. So let's start with the economy. And Jimmy, let me give you things to focus on. Let's look at revenue generation. Let's look at alternative sources of revenue. And let's look at financial management and also what? Expenditure. Have we made progress in terms of revenue generation, in terms of financial management or expenditure, in terms of alternative sources of revenue? Have we made progress? Have we stagnant, or have we retrogressed? Jimmy?
You're talking for in the last 5 years, correct?
That is correct, Jimmy.
Well, we've inched. The GDP has been growing, but we have to examine that. Mm-hmm. I don't like that metric. GDP alone, for me, you can have growth without development. Mm-hmm. So what we are seeing, we're giving more resources out in terms of iron ore, what diamonds, whatever it is. we're producing more of that, or we're selling more of that through our concessions, and that doesn't yield or it has not been yielding a great income generation for the country. Now, if those mineral resources were going through stages of production, value added stages, then the country would definitely be boosted. The whole economy will be boosted by that. But because we're not producing finished goods or even semi-finished goods, the increase in on GDP is not being shown in the economy. And if you wanted to know if we want to determine where we're going, I would always say look at the budget. If your budget is geared toward development, that is, it's putting money into promoting private enterprise, promoting private businesses and whatnot. If it's putting in capacity development, bringing people, giving people more skills, educating the youth, then I say that we're going somewhere. But with our budget being 90%, I don't know what the percentage is, some high percentage geared only to recurring expenses, it means we're not going anywhere. Because in order for us to boost the economy, we have to develop it. We have to put it in investment direction. That's the only logical way to do it. So what we have to take a painful look. I believe the administration has to take a painful look and cut back on some of the expenses that will not bring about development, that will not increase human capacity and promote more private enterprise. So we're just going to have to bite that bullet.
Thank you, Jermaine. Let me come to you, Pastor Solif. We are looking at revenue generation, alternative sources, and expenditure. If we use in the last 5 years, will you say in these areas, have we progressed, stagnant? You said stuck. Are there areas where we made progress? What's your assessment?
Well, one of the reports we heard from the Mr. Daba Jala, who heads the Liberia Revenue Authority, that they reached their goals. Okay, but then what? So if we go in to discuss progress under Liberia under the economics, I don't think they're really hitting it because, and we have to look at the facts. If you look at the World Bank report and the MPI, that's Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index for 2023, those reports are alarming. They look at from 2014 to 2016, Liberia poverty rate increased from 54.1% to 58.9%. So that means the poverty is growing. According to this report, the World Bank their latest report indicates that nearly 6 out of every 10 Liberians live in poverty, with 1 million people living in extreme poverty and 2.5 million in absolute poverty. The international standard of $2.15 a day to be on the poverty line, the UN, that means to be even considered poor, you have to at least spend or eat, like subsist on like $2 or $2.15 a day. Liberians are not even on the poverty line. We live below that poverty line. So there's no way we can say economically we doing well. When it comes to eternal revenue generation, we take it from the UP government's own mouth. They said that if it surpass their goals, but okay, what's the impact on the economy? When we generate this money, what's the impact? Just like Jimmy said, if you want to consider this, look at the budget. Liberia budget majorly is spent only on salaries. Why are we keeping all these people in government? What are they doing? We spend over half of the budget just on salary. Who are we paying for what work? Because there's no company that I work in, that Jimmy working, that my brother Mohammed working, that will say, oh, we keep paying you salary even though you guys are not producing anything. You're not generating anything. Just keep taking the pay. In fact, keep adding more staff. So it depends on who you talk to. Like I said, economically, I just gave you the World Bank data, the recent data. It's horrible. The facts are there. That's the Liberia facts sheet. So when we look at the poverty index, where is Liberia today? I think we are 8th or 7th poorest country in the world. This is unacceptable. So in my estimation, we're not going forward, we're not going backward. We're just stuck, and we need to get out of there.
Wow. So what I'm getting from you, well, you may say you have increased the figure in terms of revenue generation. Well, if you look at the cost of living, that has
No socioeconomic impact.
so that increase you're talking about in terms of revenue generation, it does not match the standard of living.
Nope.
Because a cup of rice, even during Charles at that time, used to be $10. How much for it now? Maybe 50, maybe 35. Somebody can help us. So if you raise your revenue, maybe you add a few million there, it does not make any difference, So you are saying we are stuck. Well, let me come to you, Comrade Mohammed Sharif. We have to generate revenue to run the government. And when we generate it, we need to be able to spend the money in a way that is not wasted. All right. So are we making progress, or have we made progress when we look at revenue generation, alternative sources of revenue and expenditure? Where do you think we are?
Like the previous speakers said, you take it from the horse's mouth, and you believe them when they say that there has been improvement in revenue generation. So authorities in this government are telling you that there have been improvement in revenue generation, but that's not where you stop. What happened after that? Have the Liberian people felt the increases in revenue? I don't think so. People have not felt anything as far as the new money that's coming in, and because of that, you don't know whether or not it's even a good thing for the country and what they're reporting to you. Now, one of the metrics that I will use to say, we've improved is your level of, how much you owe. Do you have a surplus? This country is not even talking about surplus. They can't even get from underneath the $2 billion debt, let alone surplus. So if I'm president, those are things that will worry me. I want to see surplus. I want to see, because in order to get to surplus, you must institute some austerity measures in terms of how these people are paying themselves. So when we talk about austerity, we're not talking about cutting from the poor. You're talking about cutting from the oligarchs, the wealthy Monrovia elite, the new elite. You cut from them. They must cut their own salaries. They must cut their own living expenditures and whatnot. They must cut down on travels and all the perks. I mean, you pay for their housing, you pay for their phone calls, pay for their gasoline, pay for their cars. Look at the legislature. Look at the legislators. Every 2 or 3 years, you have a new car, and then they bid on the car, the newer car that they're in. They bid on that as well. They have duty-free privileges. If this is not milking the country, if this is not fleecing the country, I don't know what is. And people keep talking to me about the Civil War. Oh, the war. Oh, the war. Let's give them a break. It's just a war. I don't want to hear that. You know why I don't want to hear that? Brother ST said Rwanda. He perfectly outlined Rwanda. Good example, great example. You can go across the globe, Anthony. Look, England. There was a civil war in England. People don't know that. There was the English Civil War, the first, second, and third. There was a coup in England. People don't know that, in 1650. when Oliver Cromwell overthrew the monarchy and declared himself a dictator. So they've gone through that. A king, King Charles I, was beheaded in Westminster Abbey in 1649. Look at where they've come now. Look at where they've come. In the United States, there was a civil war in the United States. Look at where the United States is. Well, they're going to tell me, well, that's the great. So all I'm going to hear now, oh yeah, that's the great United States. That's the great England. Okay, I don't want to hear all this. We've given you examples upon examples of African countries that have dug themselves out of the abyss of degradation and war and destruction. And they are where they are now. We've given you those examples. So maybe we're going to give you other examples as well, other global examples, so that you can see also that it wasn't just Liberia that has gone through tragedy. There are other countries around the globe, including countries that you today consider the great. They've gone through their own tragedies. They've dug themselves out of those tragedies. The Great Depression of 1934 to the 1940s. During the Great Depression, the economy of the United States was in the doldrums. And FDR, through a series of measures and policies and stuff like that, resuscitated the American economy. Today, we borrow from the United States. China, when we were wealthy, without any growth though, China was a peasant society. After the Great Leap Forward, look at where China is. After the Chinese Revolution, look at where China is. We borrow from China. Japan was devastated after the Second World War. Look at where Japan is now. We borrow from Japan. We borrow from Israel. Israel in 1948 was declared a state, but we borrow from them. We're older than they, but we borrow from them. We're borrowing all over. You cannot borrow and feed your appetite. You have a gargantuan appetite for wealth, for building skyscrapers and feeding yourselves and riding big cars. What's up with this big car mentality that we have? Why can't you ride in a small Volkswagen, a small Toyota as the leader of your country, as long as you can point A to point B?
Economically, we does it mean we're making progress here, or
we are not? And I'm giving you a litany of reasons why we're not, because the mentality is lazy. This lazy mentality of, oh, these great countries, they know better than we do. No, they don't. They don't. And some of these countries are not wealthy than we are. We are wealthy. This is Liberia is a wealthy country. I don't want anybody to tell me that Liberia is not a wealthy country. Liberia is very wealthy. The know-how is not there. The patriotic fervor is not there. That nationalistic fervor that I must forego all of these things to make my people live better 20 years from now is not there. Just look at Burkina Faso, what the young leader in Burkina Faso is doing in that country, a landlocked country. And you have all these counties in Liberia surrounded by beaches and beautiful beaches. It's almost like you're in paradise. If you some places in Liberia, it's like you're in paradise. What are we doing with those? What are we doing with the beauties? That's nothing. And people are mining sand, and the beaches erosion is crawling into the city centers and what have you.
Thank you, Comrade. Alex, we're talking the economy. Are we making progress here? Revenue generation, alternative sources of revenue, even management. I mean, expenditure. How are we spending our money? Are we making progress? Are we industrializing our economy, so that it can be able to generate more money? Are we making progress, or are we stagnating or retrogressing?
Well, as I said before, we are making little progress, but the problem with progress is it cannot be seen because it is not being well managed. So, for example, you have every time they make some money, their salaries are adjusted as well. So the money that they were supposed to make to be seen in the communities, to be seen among the youth based on their well-being, nobody is seeing that because the same money that is made goes back in the salaries. And now alternative sources of income like the gold mines and the iron ore and the rest of the things, well, you have the same people that have increased their salaries. Each of them got gold mines. So the individuals continue while they are making big salaries, they go again and join with the foreigners to exploit their own people. And mind you, the rural Liberians where they are making all these, holes, digging all these holes, looking for gold and the rest of the things, these people are not benefiting. So no matter what amount of money the government made, you cannot see it. Nobody will see it because it's being taken again back in the pockets of the very people that are supposed to be helping the ordinary Liberians. Recently, I looked, it was raining profusely. If I say raining Moravia, and people in Dole community, these kids are going to school, walking in the water that is almost tapping to the to the west. So if the government is taking the resources, the little growth that they have, if it was being used wisely, reaching the people that it's supposed to reach, then we'll say yes. But as it stands right now, you cannot see it. Because again, like I told you, it's going back in the pocket of the very people. And guess what they do? They take the money and make individual projects. So instead of people saying this is government infrastructure, it will be like, well, this is John Brown's building. So individuals are making these investments that are supposed to carry the name of the government. So, yes, they're making little progress, but nobody sees that. So if you cannot see anything, you might as well say there's no progress.
All right. Let's bring in Mr. Stephen Maggett here. Mr. Maggett, we discussing the economy. Our focus yet is on revenue generation, alternative sources of revenue and expenditure. If you look in the past 5 years, the budget has been growing. At some point back, it was around 500 and 600. We don't start hearing 700. Now we're hearing 800 million. And then alternative sources. We have more gold mines now. We have diamond mines now. All those things are multiplying in all the counties. It's like we're mining every county now. All right. Then we're talking about our concessions agreement being signed with Mentor Steel and HPS, and these people are, mining iron ore. So these are other sources of revenue that are popping up. One thing, we are making progress, and I want to also hear from you on expenditure. So all the money that has been generated, can we point to that and say, well, this is progress in the past 5 years, or will you say we are stagnant, or this is progress?
Well, I would say we're making progress in making the money because you can see the money coming in. If you can look at, I'm coming from the background of a community person, say a civil society actor who've gone to Washington, D.C. and work on Capitol Hill to advocate to lawmakers in the U.S. to have Liberia get taxpayer money. So I'm looking at the field that I work in, HIV and AIDS and health and community development, climate change and all of that. We've been able to get PEPFAR to give money to Liberia. That's one income generation that I know of and I'm aware of. We got Global Fund, we got the EU money, We got the Swedish development money, we got the US money, we even got the China money, then we got local money in country. What I will be using my yardstick as a as a community actor and coming from the rural area as far as other area across Liberia in its 15 counties. I would just go back to the same document that was created by the UN, say the SDGs. Like we have Millennium Development Goal. You can pop it up and just look at the dashboard on the SDG index in Liberia. There are 17 goals and it's laying up flat. And my next yardstick will be our neighbor in Sierra Leone, our neighbor in Guinea, our neighbor in Ivory Coast, and across the West African region. I grew up in the area in Monrovia that would have been the Wall Street of Liberia today between Meridian Bank, Citibank, Tradefco, all the bank down Waterside. And I was one of those people who was as young as early as 11, 10 years old, were packing goods, transshipment across West Africa, knowing that Waterside, Rano Street, where it's called Happy Corner today, the whole strip there, we were shipping goods across the whole entire West Africa. People came from Burkina Faso. Just sitting back in 20, 25, 30 years, 40 years of my life as a young person, it's unbelievable. Okay, the SDG said no poverty. Can you ask how many count 100 Liberian across the country if they are not in agile poverty or dying in the least. And if the few who master the political game in terms of talking the rhetoric and talking the talk to hijack that process of community inclusion or community deliberations. We're talking about hunger. My phone rings every day, every minute. I've been sending people to hospital. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unacceptable. We're making other games to bring in the UN. We're going back to UNGAS in September. The president is in the United States. He's going back to UNGAS to other indicators. The indicators are there. And on the dashboard, we are all overread. So where is it? In few greens, we give it multinational company bill out, tax break and all of that, but the local people, okay, let's start putting some taxes on the alcohol use and the drug use and the tobacco use. Let's create more money and say this is money is going towards this because at the end of the day, our people are dying for either TB, tuberculosis, other health issues, and cannot even afford. We say we're going to $2 as our yardstick to measure daily living in Liberia. Is that something that you as a panelist on the book can live in Liberia on $2 a day? Let's ask ourselves that question. It is unacceptable. We need to hold our leaders accountable in terms of coming and dissecting inclusivity with every human being in Liberia be accountable with a dollar amount. For example, we got our older generation that are dying. And number two is most of our people have worked, civil work, have put in social security and all of that. With pension and all of that, they don't even have pension to even live on in their late age. Do have health insurance covering them? Can we come and say all the out of the 65% of the young people, can we provide health insurance coverage for all old people, all children under the age of 5 and pregnant women, and see those indicators in terms of life expectancy? Are we still there? Our life expectancy is low, so there are a lot of those things that we can say we're making progress when we're going back and forth in the census. So 1980, I was 7 years old. 1979, I heard gunshot, April 14, Nipple Street. I saw dead body. We live with all those trauma and did now. It didn't change. 89, the same thing to 1990, to 1992, to 93, to 2003. We were us up and we're still going through the same old ball game. I mean, it's unacceptable. I'll stop here for now.
Wow.
All
Let
right.
me let me strengthen my brother's conversation with some data.
Thank you.
Just a minute. So let's look at the data because we're talking about the metrics and the index. So when they are talking about the poverty of Liberia, according to, like I said, the multi-dimensional poverty index, this is the metrics they use to calculate all of that. It's based on the country's health, the education, the standard of living. and they base these things based on nutrition, child mortality, years in school attendance, and so many other things, drinking water, electricity, housing. They use all these things to calculate all these things. Those are the metrics that they use. Now, when it comes to Liberia, they are calculating based on our GDP and our GNI. The GNI is the gross national income divided by the total population. It's similar to the GDP. And if you go by those things, Liberia ranked number 8 as the 8th poorest country. And you see, failure is failure. It's just like you say, I'm in school. Passing grade is 70, failing grade is 69 and below. Just because the other person got 60 and you got 58, both of you fail, or maybe some other people got 50, you got 65. It's still a failing grade. Liberia sit at number 8% with the GDP per capita at 1,819. Sierra Leone is above us. The only country that we are above, Burundi is number 1, Central African Republic is the second poorest country, Somali, Zimbabwe, Congo, Niger, then Liberia. Sierra Leone, Malawi, Madagascar. These people, they are higher than us. So when we look at our GDP per capita, GNI per capita, we're not doing well. So it's just not well. So until we can stop this madness of praising ourselves in failure, we're not going to make progress. The reason we are not angry with our leaders is because we keep praising ourselves in failure, just like the Lone Star team. That's why they don't ever win game. Lone Star go, they beat them. When they come back, what do? Like Ray Hill say, you fall from the tree, you praise yourself. They say, oh, but we did well. Those men beat out 2-0. You know how many those men beat the other team? They beat the other team 5-0. So because they beat you 2-0 and they beat the other people 5-0, so you praise yourself that you did well. And it's the same day the do well trophy from Lone Star. That's what the country is experiencing. So when we can face the fact and say, no, the country is not doing well, we will think analytically to know when elections come who to put there. But because we don't think about these things, if somebody build one leg hut in the corner, they say, oh, Liberia doing well now. You go now, that play no horse were there, they get one horse there now. So that is progress. How does that progress affect the socio-economic lives of the people? That's where they calculate our poverty from. So it's just unacceptable.
Thank you. Let us welcome J. Victor Namwe, veteran from UPP, and then politically kind of chilling.
Oh no, the man is CMC now. No,
give me a chance, my man. I'm gonna
y'all leave the man alone, man.
Give me a chance. We have to hold all of you accountable here. The man is a lifetime progressive. He was born in a progressive living room.
Yes.
Live it. With the UPP, and then now he chilled with the ANC, supported them, then he became sort of independent, and now we see the man chilling with CMC. Jeff Namwe, big brother, welcome. How you doing?
It is good to be with you guys. I will leave it to you all to introduce me. I'm okay with that. But it is good to be with you guys, and I regret the late entry. But look, I came on and we're talking about, life being, a comparison of life under the immediate past government and this government. I'm a chemist by training, so I don't know the economic numbers and all that, but there's something I learned, the consumer price index, I think, which tracks, people's ability to buy, inflation, prices in the market. I mean, let's throw all of these acronyms, these statistics, and just go to the market and talk to the people. Just talk to the people. They will tell you. I think that's probably the most efficient and effective way to engage the market. They will tell you straight out. Right now, things are not better than they were 2-3 years ago. That's what they're telling you. There's a clip out now that is talking about the reduction in the rate of the US dollar to the Liberian dollar, and yet prices are not reducing. And so these people are paying more now than they were paying a couple of months ago, and the people are suffering. I think that's where I will go if I wanted to draw a comparison between life before and life now. I let the market people tell us. And I think the judgment is pretty much, we were saying the judgment is still out. I think it's in. I think there is a lot more hardship now. that our people are enduring, then they did under George Weah. Surprisingly so. But I will go by what the people tell me in the market, and that's what I will go by. And right now, what they are reporting is that things are worse than they were under the immediate past government.
Jim Victor number there, he's an educator too. So we'll go into the next segment of the debate here. We'll be looking at education. For education, we want to look at quality. We want to look at, the facilities, our educational facilities. And then we'll look at teacher training. Do we have the professors, so let's look at those and see, how have we been doing? We look back 5 years to this point. Have we made progress? In terms of education, I want to see quality. Are we providing quality education? And then look at our school facilities. The story of the University of Liberia. You look at our high schools. You look at schools in the counties, for example. Will you say we're making progress? Will you say we are retrogressing? Those of you who attended the University of Liberia in the 80s and the 70s, if you saw the building, you see it now. Will you say we are retrogressing? The quality you saw on that campus, is that what you see? The quality you saw on at Detour High, at Tottenham High, is that what you see? Even the teachers that taught before, they are training, is that what you see today? And if you look at all that, are we making progress? Are we retrogressing or are we stuck? J. Victor, you get us started. You are a teacher here.
Well, look, on the education front, I think this government might have an edge over the immediate past government. We saw in recent past, Dr. Wakoyo, I think that's his name, who is now in charge of the higher education, and we saw him decertificate a number of institutions for falling below par. And I think most of this was inherited by this government. Could they do better? Yes, absolutely. And I heard someone when I was coming on talking about the amount of money we spend on recurring expenditure. That doesn't leave anything to do anything. 12% is basically what we have left to undertake all of the development in the country, the health, the education, the infrastructure, everything. 12%. 12%. But look, education, the facilities you mentioned, are they necessary? Yes. They give they give the feeling, they give a good feeling, they encourage the student pupils to go to school. People want to feel good where they are, they want to like it, and they help. But if you see the facilities right now that people are going to, just recently I saw another video from Maryland County, from Harper City itself, and you see the places that people are going to school. These places are not even fit for you to grow your pigs in. But these are the people, this is the University of Liberia you talk about. The building looks like it is a death trap. I could bet, I'm not a nurse, but I could bet my whatever that there may be more on this building, which in itself is harmful. Some of these things actually do cause, health problems for people. And so this government, I had hoped that this government would try the best to collapse this government and shrink the payroll, but I don't see that happening. The president is still appointing people. There you go. There's the building right there. Where in this world would you see this building anywhere? Then let alone to refer to it as an institution of higher learning. Look at this. This looks like Chernobyl. A deserted building, and nobody has been declared unfit for occupation, and it's just sitting there in ruins by itself. But this is where people actually go to school. This is a school building in Liberia. This is Roses. This is where Bill Tuawe and I think others, Steve Tikwa, I think this is where they're from. And so we have this problem, and this government, I don't think it is paying attention to, there is, they keep going out looking for resources, and a lot of us believe most of the resources they're going out to look for really could be found right here at home.
Mr. Number, allow me to push you a little bit. You didn't hesitate to give this government edge over the previous because you said, well, they decertify some institution for not meeting a standard, and so you're giving a little plus there, right? But look at this school, the University of Liberia. I mean, the student declared the campus no-go zone, calling for resignation of the president. Look at the building. They met with the speaker, and they promised them that they would do something. The school has been closed. I think since the government took over, I think like 2 semesters so far, and it's going to 2 years now, 2 semesters, if I'm not mistaken. Anybody can correct me. But if you compare that with money being spent on travel, in about 2 years, the projection here is about $8 million being spent on foreign travel alone.
Correct.
When you have these schools in these conditions, you saw the buildings, you yourself describe them better. You can't even allow your pig to go in there, right? So I don't know how you give them, I don't see the urgency. This is an emergency here. And I see most of the people that are in government, they went to school there. They passed by that building. The Capitol building is right there. The executive mansion is right there. Temple of Justice is right there. I mean, Foreign Affairs is right there. You can go on and on. City Hall is right there.
No, don't get me wrong. The fact that I give them an edge over the immediate past government, it doesn't mean things are any better. But in any case, I think they're the better of the two evils. They have taken out of commission some of these poorly performing schools and told them you're not fit to be fooling our children anymore. To me, that's a plus. But I think I think it's any better than they should be. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I agree with you, but let's also agree some of these were inherited. Could this government then do better by saving some of this expenditure you just described and not take so many persons out of the country on a trip? Yes, they could do that. And that's what I think we expected them to do, but they're not. And so I'm saying the savings that we thought they would be able to harness back home, there's right here, but yet they keep looking to the outside world for help, which is never going to come. And they keep spending this money and going, and they're not bringing anything back home. I mean, that was the point I was making.
Thank you. And Alice, there are some people who argue that, look, if you look at education in Liberia, we're making progress. There are more schools now. There are more universities, including private universities. I mean, we even have colleges in the counties. We didn't have those before. We have Riverside. I mean, we have Lofa University. And then you go to Nimba, you have the Prince Johnson University. There might be another, community college there. Grand Crew claim to even have a college. I think that there might be a college in Sino. There's a Grand Bassa. I think I saw the building. Bong. Colleges all over, private university as well. So some people think we are making progress because access, there's access. Even in Moravia, you see the private universities, private schools, high schools, elementary schools, all over. Some people are arguing this is progress. Will you say that's not progress?
Well, it's not a matter of having proliferation of universities in a country. You have to have quality universities. Okay. You have to have the campuses fit for students to be. So you take, for instance, the University of Liberia that we just looked at. There even a cat in there. But yet it is a university that most of our leaders went to. They are playing blind eye on the university, because maybe for some reason they do not want this university to flourish, because each person is building his or her own university in Liberia. All the government officials got universities. So intentionally, they are trying to break this university down. Now, when I went to Liberia, I went on Benson Street. Some university is there, and when I went in there, I couldn't even believe that it was a university, because the middle schools here are way better than the university. So people just planting university wherever they can plant universities. So I don't see the sense in that you to have all the buildings, even going to my home in Liberia. There's a university sitting right there. I mean, every corner you go to, there are a whole lot of universities. But do we have the professors, qualified professors to teach in universities? That's a question. The high schools are not even equipped Then you got universities all over the place. Have you not seen videos of graduates giving speeches in Liberia? High school graduates. Listen to their speeches. And you will wonder how they're going to go to the universities that we are talking about. So when you go in the rural areas, they got schools there that are deserted because these students do not have any means. Nobody paying attention to the youth. They are all in a gold mine looking for money. Before then, because the parents used to have money to pay their tuitions. But because the parents do not even have anything, what will the kids do? They go to rock crutching or in River G. All the young people, they are on the gold mines. But the gold mines, some of them are being run by the officials of government. So how are they going to tell the kids to go back home, to go to school? They're not going to do that. Most of them go also to do farming with the Burkinabes because everybody is struggling. Nobody value college or any kind of school because of what they're seeing. People get things on silver platter. Some of the people that are new in the community, they are now government officials. And so they think they can get it the easiest way. And that's the problem we are having. So having a lot of buildings, all the skyscrapers that they call universities from Lofa to Maryland, that's the issue. You must be able to have qualified professors because you want quality education. How many people pass the national exam? That's another thing. They have to find a way to help the youth. They brought the war in the country. A lot of the youth dropped out of school. People that are, older generation now. Some of them were in school when the war came, but they had to drop out. But then after the war, what happened? They are so grown to go to school. What is the pathway? There's nothing like, what you call GED here. The older person will go and get certificate that will enable them to go to university. Because we know a lot of people that could not have gone to university had it not been for GED. But this is not happening in the country. Once you flunk the exam, that means you have to either retake it, and when you can't pass it, you can't go anywhere. You can't have a job. So these are the inconveniences that young people go through who are bringing the drugs. The very people that's supposed to help the people, to help the young people to go to school. But no, everything is all about money. The salary is not enough. They will go to the gold mine and own the gold mines. Then they will not stop there. They will assist drug importing in the country. So what do we do? So we are not looking at the buildings. We are looking at what the buildings are producing. And if the University of Liberia, that is a government-run institution, looks like a trash can, you cannot say they're doing good in education. I'm sorry.
And Comrade, I know you want to come in now. Our president, Dr. Boaka, is in the United States for the UNGA. Guess who he came with? Thomas Fala. The man I got the Thomas Fala University College.
Yeah.
And now we have the University of Liberia Red Dead line in ruin. And the reason the university has not opened is because of money. But Thomas Fala University is operating. And that's the right person that can be the president body on a trip. And now they're going to be making a speech, and somebody will want to listen to that, right? Anyway, education. Are we making progress?
Who's that for me, Jimmy? Or
That's for Jimmy. Jimmy, come in here. Jimmy, are we retrogressing?
Education.
Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy. Are we retrogressing, or are we making progress? If you look at assets, you look at quality and everything in between.
I'm a proud graduate of the Luke Centenary. And for me to see that university looking like that is in a deplorable state. It is really disheartening. But it also tells me where our priorities are. We have to change our whole mindset and put priorities.
Where are the priorities? Where are the priorities? Where you think they are?
One thing I haven't seen, I would like to go back.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to the testimony of Charles Taylor,
mm-hmm.
and he said when the coup happened in 1979, he was GSA director.
Mm-hmm.
He said the problem he had was all the PRC members, they wanted the same emoluments of the Congo people, the people. So we were advocating for this status to have these material things, and that hasn't changed. We're still going after material things instead of fundamental things like our children's education. That is where we're supposed to be going. We're not. So you ask me, where is the focus? The focus is all on material possessions. It's not on fundamentally changing the country. Your university, your schools is your nurturing ground for the future Liberia. And if you're not paying it any mind, I mean, it's a terrible thing. If you want to know where we're going, how are we doing in the test, in the West African examination? Even though I don't believe too much in that West African examination test, but you will find that even the quality of students, it's being eroded when they get out of school, when they get out of college. They still struggle. We definitely need our youth gainfully employed. And sometimes these institutions that teach them math, this history, and science is not what they need. They need skills. They need to be taught skills that if anytime they should leave school, they can go and work. We have to revamp our whole thinking. But, we've been castigating a little bit on this admin, but let's look at something they've done good and see what we need to do. If today electricity is much more available in Liberia, they will tell you they don't have as many outages. Why we don't have as many outages? The answer has been there all the time. We have this CLSG line that comes in the country, and if we tap into it, it will help the situation in back home. So the new managing director knows all about that CLSG because he was there from the roots. So now he's addressed the problem, and we having better, more reliable electricity in the country. If we look at this example,
you mean did you mean to say Monrovia or the country?
In Monrovia, another country, but even the CLSG line goes in the rural parts of. I'm telling you, in Nima, the people don't worry about light. In Plibo, in places in Kapama, they don't worry about electricity going. They have it all over 24/7. So, taking this example, if you put the right, I don't care where they come from, you put the right people in the right places, you will get better results. And it has to be somebody dedicated, somebody who understands and is dedicated. But this education is not being improved. We have LU is an eyesore, and they're not in class, and that speaks volumes. I hear the teachers not even paid. So how can we say we're going backward? I mean, we're going forward. We have to sit back and address the issue. But there's a more important issue. If I'm going to land on this, Liberia is a very small country. So is Sierra Leone, so is Guinea. There are certain industries that lend themselves to what we call economies of scale. In other words, you're trying to do it for a few million people, a few thousand people. You're not going to get a lot out of it. We have to, if we're going to actually really improve our lot, we're going to have to put our forces together with Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Ivory Coast. We have to lend our resources. We have to blend our resources to create one demand and be able to sufficiently employ the new technologies and facilities that will benefit us all. But by trying to do it all by yourself, it makes it expensive. It makes it very expensive. Do you know it's cheaper to buy CLSG electricity than the electricity at hydro? Because the cost of production is very high during the dry season. So it's cheaper to buy it from CLSG. So if we start collaborating, we can bring development to all three. We all can benefit. All our whole region can benefit. But it's going to be challenging if we still do it alone. And that was the whole reason they divided Africa like this, because they know once you divide it, it will be difficult. The reason why God this country is great, is because they have united and they pool their resources. So we could do this. We have no different much from the Ivorian. Ivorians are just like Liberians. I said that they speak French, or Sierra Leoneans. So I think we would definitely have to look deep and try to combine our resources and bring about development that will benefit all of us at the same time, instead of trying to do it alone.
Thank you. And let me come to you, Comrade Sharif. You know, we're talking education, but I'm going to also introduce the other segment. So I know you can clap, and at the same time, too, going here, you are intellectual. Infrastructure is another thing. I remember you were like, look, I just want to see the yellow machines on the road. I don't know if they are there. Maybe they are. You know, so let's look at infrastructure. I mean, are we making progress? You know, talking education now also. Where are we making progress here? Can we say that there are other areas where we're making progress and other areas where we are kind of, you know, stuck? I saw some bar road pictures on Facebook today, as usual, and someone was telling me that this is the road heading to Lofa. I said, it can't be my Lofa. But are we making progress here in these areas?
So in these areas, again, once again, you have to say that progress is very slow, very minimal, and not even noticeable. So again, another area of neglect. You're looking at the University of Liberia, the Lukes and Tenebris of the Republic of Liberia, the Lukes and Tenebris of Africa. For you have back in time where Sudanese and South Africans and people from all over Africa came to the University of Liberia to get education, to get quality education. You had leaders in Liberia at this point in time who were supporting the freedom struggle in Southern Africa. President Tolbert administration, all these different people at this time were very progressive people, despite the lies that the progressive forces would tell you about President Tolbert. So he did all, so these things, so at the time, without, not to veer away from this topic, the university, the upkeep of the university, you could see when I got there, before the Civil War, you could see semblance of the greatness of that period, right? You could see semblance of it. You could see that, there was still some paint on this thing. I mean, it was still a good place to be at this point in time. The College of Agriculture, people, so there were things that you could see, which bore resemblance of a good university. And where is that now? This is a place that, if it's in the United States, that building may likely be inspected and condemned. So that's what we have for a university. And probably, yes, and it should be condemned, probably, right? Well, we don't know right now what the structure is. There might be some structural issues as well to go with the aesthetics. The aesthetic is terrible right there that you put up, Anthony. And so instead of worrying about these things, and Lord, let's not get to bathrooms, right? Let's not even get to the bathrooms. Instead of worrying about these things, What are we talking about now? They are talking about introducing a terminal degree program, a PhD program. Why? Because everybody in Liberia, every official and their brother wants to be known as Dr. So and so. Already, with the level of fraud at this institution at this point in time, you're going to have people going in there, buying degrees. So I have no trust in it, in this PhD program. It's a gimmick, and what they're doing to us, it's people should be outraged by some of these things. Don't fool us. Get on the ground, get this damn place fixed, get something done for the University of Liberia. Look, J.J. Robert, if nothing else, that's the legacy of J.J. Roberts. J.J. Roberts, when after he retired. That's what he did for the university. That's what he did for Liberia. So that's his legacy. There was Liberia founded at Liberia College. And all these people that came after J.J. Roberts should have stood on the shoulders of their predecessors. The next person to J.J. Roberts probably stood on the shoulder of J.J. Roberts. Then they got somewhere. The other people couldn't stand on the other shoulders anymore. They just neglected the University of Liberia. And we know when they started. We know when the university decline started. This was after the coup d'etat of 1980 that our brother Miguel spoke about so well. Some of the things that he talked about tonight. So, that's your education sector. And then, you go to the rural areas, you go to primary education, you go to secondary education, then the level of neglect in the rural areas. So everything is concentrated in Monrovia, and Monrovia, in which everything is concentrated, you don't see any sort of outstanding performance on the part of the administration in the last 5 years, because you're asking us for a 5-year measurement. And so the rural areas, people in the rural areas somewhere in rural parts of Liberia don't even feel that they are part of Liberia, this small country. So the neglect and degradation in the rural area is alarming. And it's an existential threat already to the country. So you asked about infrastructure. One of the things that, the part I'll land on now is one of the things that reason I supported President Boakai, candidate Boakai, is his promise to tackle road conditions as soon as he became president. President Boakai promised the Liberian people. He said within 90 days, no car is going to get stuck in the mud. And I believed him, and I took him at his word that no car is going to get stuck in the mud in 90 days. In any good administration, you come back to your electoral promise after 90 days and you report back to the Liberian people who employ you. I didn't see that, but I'm still waiting. Maybe it's going to be after year 3 that, he's going to come back and report. They're telling us now that there are some developments going on the roads and stuff like that. I hope that is the case. I hope that he hasn't forgotten that. If he can't do anything else, if he can't do nothing, because it's really hard for these people, it looks like, to do anything. If you can't do nothing else, please give us good roads. Give us good roads. Give us roads in the interior. And I'm not talking about, you have yellow machines out there on these roads, and then in the rainy season we'll go back to square one. I am talking about paved, real paved roads. Look at neighboring Ivory Coast. Look at neighboring Ivory Coast. Why is it that at a certain point in time, some of our passengers have to go through Ivory Coast to go to your hometown, Anthony?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, that is unacceptable in itself. So we have to be ashamed of the performance over the past, 5 years. I haven't seen the things that I would love to see. And I still have my hope in the promises that the president made. The 90 days is gone, so maybe we're waiting for year 3. And then meanwhile, you have all these people now, the different outlets that they have. to propagate, the little things. You have the cultural troop that's going to go out there and talk about, oh, you are the best speaker of the English language since the Queen, since so and so person, since the beginning of the world. You are the best speaker. And then they put on these T-shirts and parade in front of the camera. It's a shame. And then you have, all these other media outlets, on the internet, on the internet, social media land. And then you have LBS, all of these propagation. You don't need them. Just work. When you work, people are going to say, regardless of what you do, if you work hard, you do the right thing, even the opposition is going to acknowledge. So that's where we are. The neglect. It's so outrageous that places are neglected in the midst of wealth. Lastly, you mentioned Thomas Fowler, who came with him. Mm-hmm. These guys now are all positioning themselves for 2029. So you have Thomas Fowler, you have Jeremiah Connell, you have all these people. The infighting is going on. If you don't know now, these guys are gunning for 2029, and that's what they're doing. So they don't hold themselves accountable because you employ these people. It's 6 years, and you don't do anything. In 6 years, it's a long.
If you give me a second when Mr. Sheriff is done talking, please.
All right, I give you a few seconds because I know you're 29. You are motivated. They will meet you at the border, right?
No, actually, I'm taking a little look in the rear view mirror. It's people like Mr. Sheriff. This is one of the things that brought me on this platform. All right. This attempt by the likes of Sheriff to whitewash the struggle that our people engaged in. Where are the lies that the progressive told on Willie Talbot? That he represented a hegemony that so completely dominated your people and my people and locked us out completely of all the resources. Just 5% of the population had complete access to everything, and the rest of us were beggars. Was that a lie? The fact that Joseph Fowler today can organize a political party, is that a lie?
You said 5%. You said 5%. You said 5%.
One at a time. Let him land, comrade. Give him a chance. I'll give you a second to respond. Go ahead, Mr. Nawe.
Yeah. So to say here today and take for granted the fact that you and I here can take part in the political process without even worrying about anybody coming to knock on your door. That is a humongous progress that we've made here. You have to give the progressive community some credit. Willie Talbot wanted you to labor and wait for your time. When his children were riding and globetrotting all over the place and having a good time, this is what you wanted us to sit around and wait for and twiddle our finger and wait for them to be happy before they give us the crumbs on the table? No, the progressive, we owe nobody any apology. Absolutely not. We didn't lie on Willie Talbot. It is a fact. It's well documented. Go and read all of the books.
Mr. Namwe, point made there. Comrade Sharif, your clarity.
Yeah, I'm glad that this outrage is coming out now. Where was this outrage in 1944? Where was this outrage in 1945? Where was this outrage in 1951 when D12 was exiled? Where was this outrage when David Coleman was slaughtered? Where was this outrage when Henry Boima Fambule was snatched away from his position and thrown in jail? Where was this outrage when our people were sent to Bella Yala to die? Where was this outrage between 1945 to 1971? Where was this outrage? Where was this fake outrage when our people were sent to Fernando Po? Where was this outrage in 1916? Where was this outrage? Where was this outrage?
And Conrad, you didn't see the outrage? You did not see the outrage then?
When President Tolbert came in and reformed and tried to institute reform from 1972 onwards and liberalize the media institutions and create and allow opposition political parties to register, where, according to Twan, where this was one of the freest moments in Liberian history. And all of these people took advantage of this, where these people would never have been able to do that. They did not do that under President Tubman because he clamped down on people. He killed people. He murdered them. He sent people. There were vagrants. Tubman police were sending vagrants to Bella Yala. We have evidence of such, brutality and tyranny. Where was that outrage? And then in 1980, after Toba was overthrown. These people celebrated President Toba. You celebrate someone who was sponsoring, who closed his eyes on ritualistic killing, a ritualistic killing. Who was doing the ritualistic killing? It was people who were around President Tubman, and President Tubman condoned this. Where was that outrage? Where was the outrage when all of these was going on? And then Mr. Bacchus Matthews,
All right.
after 1980, after 1980, you know what happened to him? He became so quiet and he cooperated with the regime.
Comrade, I have to hold you there because we'll be degenerating into another topic.
Yeah,
and we can put a debate together between you and Mr.
Friday. When I come on Friday night debate, I come with the arsenal. I take no prisoners. I come with the full arsenal.
Yeah, but your arsenal, you're misfiring. Everything is
in 1983.
You're misfiring.
Gentlemen, I have to hold you there. We have a topic that we have to stick to.
When the United People's
bring
Party,
the two of you on to debate this
just a second,
please.
Just a second.
Okay.
When the United People's Party was banned from participating in political in the election of 1985, what did Mr. Bacchus Matthews do? He ran underground. Instead of standing for principle, he ran underground. And
Comrade, let me hold you there because this is an entirely different territory. And Mr. Namwe, I want you to exercise a restraint here. I want us to stay on topic. Maybe we can bring the two of you on so that we all can benefit from what is beginning to be a very good debate here. So with that said, let me bring in Mr. Sharif, Salif, sorry. We're talking about, whether or not we are making progress on education. You are a sustainable development coach, so you have a way of measuring these things. And you know very well that when we are talking about nation building, you can't do it without education. And so if we are not making progress, I don't know where we are going. So tell me, if you look at everything, education in terms of quality, the buildings, teacher training, are we making progress? We're just looking at the past 5 years. Will you say we're making progress? We are stuck, or we are retrogressing when you look at quality and all that?
Thank you. First and foremost, let me start with, I kept trying to acknowledge our sister, and I will keep forgetting every time I have the opportunity to speak. Sis Alice Wilson Moba, I'm meeting you for the first time, and I forgot to acknowledge you. Thank you for being on the show tonight. And when my brother Sharif said, Bwaka said one thing, he believed him. Listen, I think the man was speaking figuratively and you were listening literally. So maybe that was the confusion. But that being said, when we talk about education, okay, I love to deal with the metrics. Okay, what do we grade our educational system? Oh, it's not just, by the sight of the eyes. There are things they look at. Okay, they look at your environment, and that has your environment, your infrastructure, the programs you offer, the quality of instructors that are professors that are lecturing in your schools, and the performance. They look at outcome. What students that leave your school, what they do out there. There's so many things that go into ranking these universities, and the Times Higher Education, they rank universities in Liberia. Almost 100 of them. Liberia doesn't make the list. The first 5, South Africa makes the first 4 on the list with Egypt. And I can just go down the line and you can see South Africa ranked number 1, the University of Cape Town. From there, another university, Stellenbosch, back in South Africa. And then the Witwatersrand in South Africa. Then you come down to Morocco, number 4, South Africa again, number 5, and you can go until you get to 100. Nigeria, Ethiopia, Algeria, Botswana, Tanzania, all these people, Morocco, Ghana, all these people, Tunisia, all these people make the list. Kenya, Namibia, Rwanda is on the list. You're not, and with all their rankings, their numbers, you're not going to see Liberia there. Liberia is a joke. We don't know what we're doing. When we talk about these things, one of the things you look at when they're talking about the health of a nation, one of the way we grade them is on what we call the 5 social determinants of health. What are those 5 social determinants of health? We talk about number 1, economic instability. This includes factors such as employment, income, and expenses, education, access to quality education, and literacy levels. Then the third one is on healthcare access and quality, availability to healthcare services and quality of care received. Then we'll talk about a neighborhood and built environment. This has to do with the physical the environment where people live, including housing and transportation. So I'm giving you something in your mind that you can look at when you look at Liberia. And then, of course, the fifth one, you talk about social and community context, which has to do with the relationships and social networks that influence health outcomes. So those are the things they look at when they're looking at this, the health of a nation. Those 5 social determinants of health. We can't just grade Liberia on the curve. Those buildings you're looking at, those dilapidated buildings, you think those buildings will put Liberia on a ranking as term of education in Liberia? No way. Look at output. When I was in Liberia, I had somebody who said she graduated from the University of Liberia. She needed to apply for this job. So she wrote a letter for me to look at it. A 7th grade student in another African country would have written something better than what that university person graduate wrote. Look at how they speak. I stopped attending graduation in Liberia because I'm like, I come here, we do all the fanfare. They say, okay, let a graduate come and give the speech. And then when they start talking, like they never even saw the classroom. So it's just horrible. But then look at the government. The last budget that was passed, okay, I know Jimmy talked about the budget. What was the support for education? They got millions, 20 million, 22 million, this for NSA, for covert operation, for all this. What is in there for education? Monrovia, that is the capital city, like our sister Malba said. Look at the things they got, those shanties they got in Monrovia, they say they are university. Then you think about some university in Riverside. Which professor goes to live in Riverside to teach in university there? We are joking with these people. So the infrastructure and everything goes into ranking these universities and the courses they teach, the people that are teaching, how these people even earn their own degrees. In Liberia, you got student teaching student. I went to the University of Liberia. Most of the people teaching you are TAs. The man himself still in the school. He's just the one working with the teacher to collect money from students that, you want to push yourself through. We are joking in Liberia. So education is not prioritized. Healthcare is not prioritized. Nothing is prioritized in Liberia. The only thing is we should get bulletproof Jeep cars for a president. I don't know who wants to kill him. So you spend millions on bulletproof cars. Any country that does not invest in education, you are not investing into the future. Any country that is not investing in healthcare, you are not investing into the future. Any country that does not invest in infrastructural development, you are not investing. It's not sustainable. And when you look at Liberia, there is nothing. So let's just grade Liberia on output. Let's forget about all the other things I said. Only output. Can you and me sitting here say, oh, yeah, from the output from our schools in Liberia, we're doing well on education? Let me close with this. I had a young man, I think he got a scholarship from Cottington University to go to Temple University in Philadelphia. My nephew was in that school. And they all had to do the same courses. That student from Liberia had to drop out of the school because he was like, but Uncle Trocon, he said, we go to class. He says, simple experiment that we have done in high school. This guy doesn't know anything. I was saying earlier, we don't even have equipped science lab. I went to, I think, University of Ibadan in Nigeria. I entered their science lab because I had a friend who was mastering chemistry. I was like, wow. I saw things that I have never, ever seen. Go to Liberia. When I was in LU, they were using copper for Bunsen burner. There's nothing. So what are we talking about? Our doctors, how are we training them? How are we training these people? Liberia is dismal when it comes to this dismal performance when it comes to education, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to infrastructure. Let us stop deceiving ourselves, because every time we tell ourselves this last that we're doing well, we will always elect the wrong people. The day we tell ourselves we're not doing well, we'll be critical when elections come because we want people that will help us to do well. But we keep patting ourselves on the back. That, and then we keep wondering why things are not working. If we are not patting ourselves on the back, do you think we will put some of those people in office? No. We want serious people. We want serious people in office. That's what we want. Look at Ghana. Look at the metamorphosis of Ghana. Look at other countries. Sharif mentioned Africa Coast right past us here. Can you go to Abidjan and compare? They also fought war. After Laurent Gbagbo and Ouattara feud, they fought war there. Go to Abidjan, it looks like they never fought any war. What are we talking about? Let's stop deceiving ourselves. We are a failure. We are failing. We're not doing well. We're stuck in one place. We're not going forward. We're not going backwards. We are stuck. And I rest.
Anthony.
Yes.
Yeah, let me make a comment.
Please.
It is, it is kind of astonishing that all of our lawmakers are now doing NGO work. Okay. I mean, like they have practically turned to NGOs.
I agree.
Going from county to county, giving relief supplies. So building, private universities. Now, Prince Johnson University, recently I read that there was no support. So they were begging the president to support a university that's supposed to be a private university. So I read again that government is planning to take that. But what happened to the University of Liberia that is in the capital city? But everybody is building private universities. Tomorrow, when they are out of jobs, guess what happened? Those universities will go in ruin. So it's mind-boggling that we don't even know as a country why we go to the Capitol building to work. It said we need to give buy books and be carrying around copy books to ordinary school. What do NGOs do? That's the comment. I don't know.
And you're right, my sister, because the lawmakers, that is not their job. And when they're going for election, they're promising people I will build you bridge. It's all deception. The job of the legislature is to make laws. The job of the legislature is to serve for oversight so that they make sure these three branches of government are working as co-equal so that things are done properly. But there's complete NGO. I know nobody has said it like you said it. It's complete NGO work they're doing. That's not their job. And therefore, because our people like it. That's how they just been deceived.
Right, and therefore the government is taking a back seat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alice Fan Pondel. Let's get to Mr. Stephen McGill. And I think we will rest on these two topics. The other topics we'll roll them over to Friday night debate. Let's do a whole series on how we're doing in terms of progress of whether we're retrogressing on these key sector. Mr. McGill, are we looking at education? Are we making progress? Are we retrogressing?
I'm going to go back again to the yardstick and all the reports that Liberia writes out there and put out there for the report's sake. I know Liberia educational system is evolving. As you can see, I've gone to Liberia and I've seen international schools. I've seen foreign nationals bring their children into Liberia and go to all these international schools. And most of the schools are so expensive, like compared to schools in America for rich people. So that inequality, that divide have created a tension within itself. Is there a progress? A slow progress, yes. While reform is still on the way, the reality of many students is the overcrowdedness of classrooms across the country, from the city to the villages. On the train, teachers and unequal access. So you got a few group of people, the students go to gated neighborhood with buses and all of that, but the vast majority of the people in the dungeons, in the marginalized community, are still catching difficulties. That's hard. Progress do exist, but quality and equity lack a lot. I've been seeing a lot of these video on university campus, and it's downheartening to have Liberia university. I'm here on Marshall University campus. I walk across the university campus every day, and it just brings tears to my eyes. That everything you think about running a country can be found within that model of the university system, whereas every department put into the educational, the quality, the research, the sciences, and all of that. I want to ask a question here. So I put all information from the budget was like the government gave $114 million to just education. So they look at it, where did it go? If Liberia is investing more in education, why there's so many children still dropping out of school before they even reach 12th grades on our primary level? So we go back to think about it. What's the output? We're putting in more money. Yes, the money is coming. The book is there. We can hold the policy. Whoever is in control, let's give those committees in the House of Representatives and the Senator on those educational committee to come on the show and let's bark them to and ask them questions. And they need to be shame them, let's challenge them. Their children are all in the good schools. You can name the different
Yeah.
schools in Liberia. But then you leave, you talk about eating food program in the school, the quality of environment for the student from the pre-K to the other crew. You got proliferation of different universities. We have a lot of universities all over. Yes, they are. It's good to see that we have numerous family members calling. I'm graduating from AMU University. I'm graduating from AMU. I'm graduating. It's all good progress, good morale, and good tension. But the quality is low and it's poor and it's need improvement on the level of what the dollar is being spent. How we tracking those dollars amount? We got here on the report that I just put up, talk about the SDG goals as Liberia is align itself to the universal SDG goal number 4. Talk about Liberia aim to ensure that inclusive and equitable quality education for all through targeted reforms. Is this happening? They talk about digital learning center and culture. Do we even have electricity? Most of the schools doesn't even have proper running water. Even LU have challenges with electricity. How would they be running research? How would they be running laboratory apparatus within the university? They say across who are the gatekeepers and who are the people evaluating and accrediting this university? What is the yardstick? What are we using? And why are we keeping them in business? It's possible like every lawmaker want to look at it as a way of forming and hijacking people mindset and talking the talk, building university and pretending to be doing good while they're taking money. So it's a conflict of interest in itself. Can a lawmaker also have a university parallel to that of the national university? That in itself is a conflict of interest because it's parallel system. What is the sustainability? Can they all put in that resources into the university or tackle like they gave example of Thomas Fowler coming to New York? He's going to talk about his program. He's looking for money from donors and so forth. But the conversation don't add up. It's defeating itself in terms of what our output, what our testing scores across the West Africa examination courses. What are other? I got student who wants to come here every day. I try to get students to come into university in America. I put it in different chat rooms and groups. They don't have access to even doing the SAE test, the SAT. They also, oh, we have to go to Nigeria or go to Ghana or Sierra Leone. And I mean, in itself is hard. I know when I was back in Liberia, USAID, a library was a place on Ashmore Street. You could go up there in the library and find schools and find exchange program, go to the Fulbright scholarship and see all the different things happening. Yeah, the programs are there. What is the United States position on improving library education? The US government had a lot of money in the area of educational sector across all our sectors in Liberia was supported highly. Aid has been cut, let's agree aid is cut, but how we owning it, while what our commitment to the domestic revenue we are collecting in terms of making that commitment holistically across the board to the people. And do they go out to challenge the lawmakers themselves? You can't be making the law and be part of the law and confusing us. I mean, it's not adding up. There's too much conflict of interest. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And folks, if you want to participate, our conference line is having some issues, so there are direct numbers here you can call. The numbers are on the screen right here. You can call out of WhatsApp or direct 651-399-1614 or 651-392-6224. Either one you can call on WhatsApp or direct. You will have the opportunity to call. Our teleconference line is down for some reason. So we are waiting for your call. So while we wait for people to call in, I think there has been a debate, and I have been thinking that the best way we can measure whether or not we are making progress is whether these services are actually improving conditions, improving other the material conditions of our people, or whether these investments being made, the programs, these efforts being made by government actually improving the facilities that we need, the social services, look at our hospitals prepared. If you look at our schools, are those classrooms comfortable for our students? Do we have labs? Do we have computers? All right. We are spending millions on cars. Why are we not spending millions on computers to prepare the future leader of Liberia? Are we producing tech giants in Liberia? Are we training people who will build computers in Liberia? Are we doing that? I don't think our leaders are thinking about that. All we see them doing, they're producing somebody who will cham munya munya, at their party headquarters. They want to produce the next representative, and that's what they want to do. And so when you look at these things, for me, I will tell you, we're not making progress, because nation building is not, necessarily the facility that you see. We have to be able to manage these facilities. I mean, University of Liberia, for example, you think if we have people who have deeper understanding of the significance of a university, all right, would they want to see the building like that? I don't think our leaders have that level of consciousness, that level of patriotism. I mean, you see your school building, your nation's flagship university, and you are a president, you are a senator, and you are a representative, and you are looking at that building, and you are not aligned. And then you get on the plane, and you spend $25,000 on one official to go to Japan, to go to China, and not America. And you come into bed, and your nation's university is looking like that. This is no magic. Our brothers and sisters are doing that. Commissioner Reed talked about Ivory Coast. I lived in Ivory Coast for 4 years. I did not see a road that car could not fly or go through. Ivory Coast, no part of Ivory Coast is ever cut off during the rainy season. It does not happen. When I was in Ivory Coast, I don't remember when last or during my time there that there was no electricity for at least 30 minutes. No, I never experienced that. That's next door. But
I think while we wait for the callers to come in, I think some of the ways to solve these problems, 1 year, I don't remember which year, Africa Coast was on record which year as the country with the best road network in Africa. That year, it was sometime back. But some of the ways we can solve this problem is what some African countries have done. In some African countries, citizens like Nigeria, you go to government university, you graduate, you go serve your NYSC, you got to serve. If we can come up with rules in Liberia, and if I'm president in Liberia, that's what I would do. No government officials' children, your first degree must be done in Liberia, and it must be done in private public university. Because the people that are running their country, their children are not in those schools. Why would they pay attention to it? If I became president and I say you want to work in the government, your children must go to government schools in Liberia, you will be forced to improve the school because your own child is there. These people don't go to the government officials, don't attend hospitals in Liberia. When they get sick, they fly out of the country. They go to other countries, even Ghana, they go there for medical care. Why would he fix the one in his country? Their children are all abroad. I mean, why would they think about the university? The people whose children are caught up in that system are the people who are marginalized, the people who can't help themselves, those people who they took the vote from to get where they are. That's why they can't do anything about it. They know education is important, but why don't they pay attention to it? Because it doesn't affect them. They don't care. Once they get in government, they get money and they have opportunity to get visa to fly their family. There are so many ministers now in Liberia. Their families are here in America. They're not going through what the people are going through. So they don't care until we come up with some rules that we want to fix our system. I think somebody mentioned a word, I don't know what it was on this show tonight, draconian. We got to come up with, okay, he used austerity, that's Sharif. But we need to come up with some austerity, I hate to use draconian measures to force growth and development, sustainable growth and development. Or else, if we leave things the way they are, come the next 100 years, it's only going to get worse because we're not even on the path of getting better.
Thank you. And I think let us close because I think we are doing a better job here. So people are just taking the meat in and they enjoying the meat, so they don't want to call it our fish, to it. So I will be asking for your closing now with solution. We discussed that from what I gathered from all of you yet, if there's anything called progress, it doesn't add up. And that we are out of stock. In terms of quality, I would say we are retrogressing. In terms of quality, education is one you don't have to look anywhere. Listen to a graduate speaking, you will be ashamed of your nation. All right. So when it comes to quality education, we have retrogressed, grossly. And it is unbelievable that it's happening in the 21st century. So let's bring it on. I want to get your closing. Let's start with you. They always say, ladies and gentlemen, Alice, what do we do now?
So I think the best thing we can do as a country, and if I were somebody of influence in our country, would be number one, every official of government or anybody that wants to work in the government, first of all, we have to declare their assets before they even take the job. Secondly, all of their kids. If the kids are already in the United States, well, you better take them to Liberia if you are interested in serving Liberia. The kids will have to go to school in Liberia. The University of Liberia has to be up to standard for everybody's kids to go there. JFK has to be up to standard so that every government official that is sick will still right in Liberia and go to hospital. All the doctors must be trained so that people will not be afraid to go to the hospital. Because it's one thing being sick and then going to the hospital, not getting good customer service to make your situation worse. All these things will have to be addressed. But the government has to put very, very serious attention to how the country is being run. The universities that are all over the country, they have to look at the quality of universities. They have to look at the schools outside Monrovia. Monrovia is not Liberia. So we cannot focus on Monrovia. Even the Monrovia that we are focusing on is not up to standard. The schools not up to standard. Then you're thinking about the schools that are outside Monrovia. It's worse. The young people, we have to pay attention to the young people. And I believe when the war was over immediately, if people have paid attention to the youth, the crisis that are in Liberia now, we're not going to be there. But we neglected them, and now it got worse over time. So it's still not late for us to fix it. People that want to go to the house, they should know why they're going there. You cannot be senator, representative, and every day you're sharing cups of rice among people. That's not a problem. The government's supposed to do that. So you set up sectors that's supposed to be addressing the needs of people. People bring food in the country, make sure there's sufficient food in the country. But if your government officials are playing the role that ordinary citizens are supposed to play, because they got people that got NGOs, they need fundings to do their jobs. But then the government officials that are already getting huge salaries are in the business of supplying things. So because government is looking at these things, they are giving more money, and all the money given is not being used for the purpose, because they give agriculture money for agriculture. The past, I think it was like 30,000. How many people made farms? But this money can be used to do other things that will benefit the young people. The young people are the future of the country. And when we neglect them, 30 years from now, 20 years from now, foreigners will have to take over the country. Because right now they have money to send their kids to the expensive schools that we are talking about, the private schools. So we have to think about it as the people to make these changes.
Thank you. Let's keep the closing to 2 minutes. Mr. Miguel, your closing, sir.
I think we should stop creating parallel system with the government system, because when you create parallel system, it's also weakening the government oversight and the government own way of increasing that change for its citizens. So we're looking at the university being created by some of the lawmakers. They're also being budgeted by the government funding. So government funding is also going there. So it's making it difficult for the government. Yeah, we know this challenge. Liberia students still face overcrowded classroom and undertrained teachers. Those are limited learning opportunities that we need to tackle. The systematic barrier to progress. Despite the funding that was given, despite funding being given, the systematic challenges that's hiding educational reform. We need educational reform and student success in Liberia, prioritizing fundamental learning, enforcing inclusive policy, vector to equity and access to education for everyone across Liberia, regardless of who you are.
Thank you. Jimmy?
Yeah, Anthony, thank you. It was a good debate today. I think we pointed out a lot of things, but I like to mention one thing though. You see, democracy is not an end in itself. By right, we need democracy to be tethered to prosperity. Just having the right to vote, well, we also want the right to dignity, to work, to eat, and to dream of a better tomorrow. We need to get our representatives, all of them, to prioritize the things that will benefit us. There is no reason for that university to be like that when we're doling out millions and millions and millions in benefits, in gas slips, in house rentals, and all kinds of benefits. Why are they treating us like that? That has been, to me, that is the main problem. They are not prioritizing the needs of the people, but rather just enjoying their benefits they're getting and neglecting the duty and the charge we give them. And until we can get them to prioritize us, we will see more of this and for many, many years to come.
Pastor Salif?
Thank you, Mr. Sharif, and all the other panelists. Yeah, let me close this way. You see, wealth can be created, and other countries are creating wealth, but also so can poverty be created. Poverty doesn't just happen in a vacuum. People think other countries just woke up poor, or people just woke up poor. No, we create these things. The same way we create wealth, we also create poverty. Wealth is created through smart policies, through best practices. Poverty is created through bad policies. And that's what creates poverty. So some countries, they didn't just wake up poor and others wake up rich. After all, we got records on the books of other countries that were once in Liberia's position, and today they turn themselves around. Places like Singapore will come to mind. Malaysia will come to mind. Even China will come to mind. And then we say, oh, all those ones are, in Asia and other places. In Africa, Rwanda, Ghana. Ghana was a failed country. They were packed in Liberia. Nigeria had to send them away. That's why you get the name from that band, Ghana must go. They drove Ghanaians everywhere. Today, everybody's flocking into Ghana. Today, every international company that wants to go to West Africa, the first place they think about Ghana. Why? Because of their stability and their peace. and how they conduct election. All the big companies want to go there. And today, Ghana is just growing astronomically. So you can create wealth, but you can also create poverty. And sad to say that in Liberia, we have devised the degrees or how to create poverty. So this is self-inflicted. This is self-made. What we are experiencing in Liberia, it is self-made. This is from greed. It's from selfishness. It's from impunity. People conduct all these things in Liberia. They steal, they corrupt, they do all these things. What happened? We clap hands for them. If a clean person from the panel say, I'm going to run for president in Liberia, and a criminal, like a crook in the Liberia, already in the Liberia system say they're running, listen, the Liberian people will be clapping and be behind that, they be dancing. They will even make song and be dancing behind the crook, and they will throw away somebody that can bring development. So we can create poverty and we can create wealth. And Liberia has successfully, poverty is entrenched in our system because of impunity, because of corruption, because of greed, because of mismanagement. Like Mohammed Sharif said in the beginning, Liberia is one of the richest countries on earth in terms of our natural mineral resources, in terms of our human capital index. The country population is still less than 6 million. We are just fluttering between 5.4, 5.5 million people. So that is our power, and we got all that wealth, the resources. All we got to do, build capacity, hold our leaders to account, make sure we elect people that will bring in good policies and best practices. No, we dump that and then we expect to progress. We're not going to get there. So poverty is being created in Liberia. We didn't just wake up into it. We are creating it.
Thank you. Comrade Sherry, you're closing.
Yeah. Thank you. So, when I come on here, I speak in the way I do, with the passion that I do, because I am a very loyal Liberian. I am a proud African in that order. And so when I come in, I speak in the way I do, with the passion that I do, and I'm very distasteful of all the ills in our society, regardless of who perpetuate this ill. There was a time in our society where, we spoke of, you can read our history, each of you can read our history. We spoke of, the degradation, the suppression, and all these different things that was going on. But when are we going to turn the page? When are we going to turn the page to a new renaissance? When I have been dreaming of the Liberian Renaissance for decades. It hasn't arrived. We have not arrived. When are we going to arrive? The contempt for intellectualism, the contempt for different views, it's mind-boggling. The contempt for, go ask these guys right now who are working for the administration that are watching us. Oh, don't mind these guys. They're jealous because they don't have these jobs that we have. The president said it the other day. The president said you guys are nobodies, that you are just not trained. The president of the Republic of Liberia. You think that person cares about what you're going to say on here? You think somebody's not in his ears telling him, don't listen to these people. They don't know what they're doing. So that is the problem. That is the problem with Liberia. So I am as progressive as it can get, but I am honest. I am an honest activist. I am someone who wants to see justice done. So when you dethrone one leader and you accuse this leader of holding your people down, which is debatable and disingenuous, and you come in and replace that leader, and you are worse than that leader, and you are treating your country the way you are, then you are disloyal to your oath. You are disloyal to your people. And I am the antithesis of those kinds of dispositions, of those disloyalty. I am very loyal. And to develop Liberia, you need that. It's usually out of the crucible of crisis that great nations rise. Liberia has not risen in the crucible of our hardest moment. Liberia has not risen. Liberia has not arrived because you know what? You have a bunch of disloyal people. You have a bunch of greedy people, like SD said. You have a bunch of people who collect money from abroad. They beg the United States of America. They beg Japan. They beg China for money. They beg Ghana. They beg everywhere for money. Feed their gargantuan appetite. Feed themselves. Look, and you know what they do? What else they do? They hold these elections once every 6 years or once every 9 years for senators. You elect somebody and they're going to die in office. You know, one of the things that they can start to do, you ask for this solution, one of the things I think they begin to try to do, if you have a very patriotic leader who can then sit down and say, across the board, the three branches must work in harmony to develop Liberia. And I'm talking about the executive, the legislature, the judiciary. If that doesn't happen, you're not going to have a country with all these people holding our constitution in contempt, with their contemptible attitudes toward development, with their contemptible attitudes toward democracy. It's not going to happen. You have these people every 6 years. They come around and give us T-shirts and bag of rice, and we dance for them and we chant. And then after 6 years, they're gone. You never see them again. That is the Liberia that we're in. You know, the last time George Weah, to his credit, he said, let's reduce the term. Let's reduce the presidential term. Let's reduce the term of the senators. Let's reduce the term of the members of the House of Representatives. Poor George Weah, to his credit. What did they do? The opposition, they clamped down on that. Cummins and others, they campaigned against that. And they defeated that amendment. They defeated that effort. You know, one of the ways that you hold your people accountable, the frequency of election. I believe in the frequency of election because these guys are so comfortable. Make them uncomfortable enough. That is the reason why the founders, if you will call them, that is the reason why the election was every 2 years. Liberia started that way. Every 2 years, these guys were going back to the polls. So if you didn't like Boaka, we will be voting against him now. And then the next person get there, you don't like them, every 2 years, we'll be voting. Why don't we go back to something like that? But no, we're not going to. You know why? The powerful elite has hijacked Liberia development. They've hijacked the process. And none of us, they're not going to give us a chance unless we force them. They're not going to give us a chance to bring development to Liberia. We want to bring development to Liberia. We, the loyalists, we, the loyal Liberians, we, the patriotic Liberians, we have to force these disloyal people out of office. If that doesn't happen, nothing is going to work. We're going to have a country with raw sewage running across cities. I watched Priscilla's show the other day. There was a young lady who was talking about the degradation to the environment. I watched The New Day. You know, you should have watched The New Day to come over, some good stuff. So I want to end here because if I continue, I'm going to continue to go on and on and on. And I don't want to do that. A lot of people, want to go to bed already. So I thank you, Anthony. I thank my colleagues. I thank everyone on this show. Great show. Thank you all.
It has indeed been a great show and a great debate. So much to learn. We conscientize ourselves. If only all our leaders were in the classroom, though they would disagree, but they will agree that we have done justice to the national discourse. And that what sets focus on Liberia apart. I, in my lifetime, never, even with a gun to my head, I will never intellectualize poverty. I will never intellectualize corruption. Never, ever in my life. If there's anything that I've enjoyed, the right to speak truth to power, while we see it in our country, it is something that we must all speak against. Comrade, you talk about you've been waiting for the Liberian Renaissance. I have been waiting. You are not alone. But I tell you, until we can have a leader, if we can get leaders, until we can get leaders who will prioritize the things that are needed to be done, we will keep waiting. So sometimes I ask those who are hoping that they celebrate when a new president is elected. I keep waiting and looking for something to celebrate. I have not seen one, comrade. Look, really? We are giving strike cards. We are buying cars. We are paying for housing allowance. We are paying for travel. We are giving DSA, right? You want me to continue going and get new card after every 3 years? All right. And this is what we do. So what do we give the police officer? Just a paycheck, and that's it. Not even a fitting uniform that is regular for the police officers. What do we give the teacher? Just that salary, and that's it. Nothing else. What do we give the university professor? Just that naked salary. Nothing else. What do we give the nurse? Just that salary. I've just listed for you things that we are giving the most pay or the well-paid individuals in our government. They are getting 10,000, they are getting 15,000, but then they get a car. We are even buying them generators and even providing fuel for these generators, for Christ's sake. And what do? They see the university and they pass by when it's in ruin. We have to cut all that off. I want to see a president who takes office and say, finance minister, give me a budget that allocates 60% of the budget to public sector investment. If you don't give in that budget, you are fired. You are fired. If you admit that each minister will get just $500 United States dollars as their salary, so be it. I want 60% of the budget to go to public sector investment. I want to see a president who takes office and say, in the first 3 years, not only me, no official of my government will leave the country on foreign travel. No, it will never happen. Why are we here at the United Nations for something called United Nations General Assembly? It is meaningless. It adds nothing to us. It's a waste of time, waste of resources. Why are we doing this to ourselves? When we have schools that don't even exist, and then we are wasting money. Thomas Fala have to travel, and the government of Liberia is responsible for T5 now. He's no longer T5.
Right.
Well, comrade, like you, if I continue to go on and on, we will not leave this place. I am waiting for that renaissance. That Liberian renaissance must come. And I agree with what you went in the history books that you brought. Having election every 2 years would be a good place to start. And maybe these people will not get as comfortable as they are, because, they are just very comfortable. 6 years, 9 years. Darius Dillon can sleep for the next 4 years. He can rest already in the remaining year to divide rest and t-shirts and put our boys together to dance for him. And he might get elected again because he has money now for our people to dance for him. And that's how they play the game, create poverty every day. And then our country is going backward. Quality is lacking. Capacity is near zero in every government sector. I'm always there. I have friends in government that know me, and I will speak so fearlessly because people are hurting here and they are dancing. This is not about them. It's about a country. We have a responsibility to a nation to develop. I live in Ivory Coast. We see our brothers and sisters, they are doing well. And this is a shame that we carry on our faces everywhere we go. I will leave it there. The song says we are all Liberians, and that song is taking us home. We can't end the debate today. The debate continues.
What one lawmaker salary can pin the whole university campus down?
That's right. That's right.
We can do that.
These people are just terrible. They're just terrible.
Thank you for the quick speech.
Yeah. Comrade, thank you. I appreciate all of you. The song says we are all Liberians. And to those who will watch later, if you disagree, there's a phone number right under me. Call. We can talk about Liberia. Our leaders are jokers. I say that. Let me repeat that again. They are jokers. All of them. They are jokers.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Israel, USA, all we want. Liberia.